All right, everybody, thank you very much for joining us this evening for our first info session, and we're also welcomed by some guest speakers in the US. Before we get started, I just wanted to share a quick poll to see where everyone's coming from. Let's see, there we go. So if everyone can answer the poll that pops up. Amazing. I'm still at the office, so I apologize if there's some background noise. All right, a few more people to answer. Great. So yeah, looks like most people heard about us through their university, which is great. We've been working a lot on outreach for each of the universities, and good to see that most people are interested in studying or working in the US. So just a quick background, my name is Maya. I am running the Internships in the Valley program. I've been working with the program for a bit over a year now. From my accent, you can probably tell that I'm actually originally from the US, from California, came to the Netherlands to do a master's program, and then now have started, leading this program. And with that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so a quick overview of what we'll be covering today. So first, we'll briefly introduce our program, the application, the eligibility, talk a bit about our previous interns. Then Maggie from the Netherlands America Foundation is one of our panelists who will be doing a talk about the whole visa process. Second part, we have guest speakers. So we have one of our Holland in the Valley fellows, so a previous intern that will be sharing his story, and also a talent committee member. So an industry professional originally from the Netherlands, but is based in the US. We'll kind of talk about, work and life in the US. And at the very end, we will have some time for the Q&A. So these are from the questions that you guys submitted when you registered for this webinar. But before we start all of that, I'd like to welcome Dirk Janse. He's the Consul General of the Netherlands in San Francisco. And so he will just be welcoming you to our webinar. So Dirk, the floor is yours. Hold on, Dirk, you're still on mute.
All right. I thought you were going to unmute me,
Yeah,
but it's been taken care of now. Thank you, Maya. Good evening. Welcome to San Francisco, where the day has just started. As Maya said, I'm Dirk Janse. I'm the Consul General of the Netherlands for the Western US. I'm very happy to be with you today, and I look forward to meeting you in person here on the West Coast in the near future. Our consulate represents the diplomatic interests of the Netherlands, and we provide consular support to Dutch citizens in the 13 westernmost states of the US. But I would say our core business is to support Dutch companies to do business on the US West Coast and to connect the innovation ecosystems of Silicon Valley and the Netherlands. Now, that's why we set up the Holland in the Valley network. And that is, I would say, a community of Dutch and American innovators that brings together the most entrepreneurial minds from the business community, from the government, and from the universities, academia in the Bay Area and the Netherlands. And with the help of this network, we have developed extensive startup programming, such as, for instance, the Skill NL Accelerator that helps promising startups from the Netherlands to scale to the US. And I'm happy to say that the third cohort with 10 innovative Dutch startups is ongoing as we speak. Another part of this network is the topic for today, the Internships in the Valley program, which is a partnership between our consulate, the universities of the Netherlands, and the Netherlands America Foundation, or NAF as we call it. And that program is run by Maya at the international office at VU, de Vrije Universiteit, together with the economic team at our consulate. And in particular, that is Margot Korthals, who is also participating in this webinar. Internships in the Valley is part of Holland in the Valley, and therefore the interns are given the honorary title of Fellow, Holland in the Valley Fellow, once you have secured an internship. And today you will hear from one of the fellows, Ramon Dijkstra, who will share his experience as an intern in the US. So I think it promises to be a pretty cool webinar. I hope it will make you feel inspired by the Silicon Valley mindset, and also that you become aware that an internship in the Valley is a fantastic way to kickstart your career. And it's truly, I would say, a golden opportunity. Now, during your hunt for an internship and during your internship experience, the team and the fellow community will be available for support and assistance. And we also partner, as I said, with the Netherlands America Foundation, the NAF, who will offer assistance with your visa application procedure. So I want to end by stressing that we are truly grateful for our collaboration with the Dutch universities and the Netherlands America Foundation, because it's that partnership that makes it possible to connect you to these wonderful opportunities here in the US. Now let's get this webinar started. I wish you all the best, and I'm looking forward to meeting you here at our consulate in 2024. Back to you, Maya.
Thank you very much for that warm welcome, Dirk. Let me just make sure I mute you. Perfect. So yeah, thank you very much, Dirk. And we'll go ahead and continue with our webinar. So like Dirk had first introduced, so what is Internships in the Valley? Our program was originally founded in 2019 as we call it a triple helix initiative between academia, government, and industry. Of course, due to the pandemic, our program had to go into hibernation mode for a couple of years. And finally, in 2022, we sent our first batch of candidates to the US to complete their internships. So that means we are now entering the third edition of our program. So in short, what do? We simply connect master students, PhD candidates, and recent graduates from Dutch research universities with paid internships in the US. And again, like Dirk mentioned, our three partners are listed here. So the Consulate General of the Netherlands in San Francisco, they're like the local main point of contact for both companies and interns that are currently in the US. And also our partner within the consulate, Margot, she helps us directly with company outreach. So always looking to invite new companies to join our talent partner network. And that way we have more different types of internship vacancies for you guys. Next is the Netherlands America Foundation. So that's the NAF. And they are the ones that will be initiating and helping with your visa process, which is obviously a very important requirement for interning in the US. And finally, it's the 13 research universities in the Netherlands, which make up this Universities of the Netherlands Association. And basically what this allows is students and graduates from those universities to participate in our program free of charge for like free services, I guess. So these are 13 universities. So I hope everyone here is associated with at least one of these universities, and you're most likely familiar with the other ones. And you just really have to understand that Dutch universities are of very high quality. And of course, each university has like a specific field of study or specific strengths that makes students and graduates from those universities particularly valuable, or I guess valuable for companies in the US. So that's kind of where your background will really play a strong role in finding an internship. All right, so what makes us unique? Before I jump into these points, I want to clarify the terminology a little bit because we get this question a lot. So the term internship has a different connotation in the US as it does in the Netherlands. So in the Netherlands, you usually associate internship with like a pretty short-term experience that you would generally do as part of your academic studies, usually within a university or a research lab. And you're gaining experience, you're leading your own research, but it's generally unpaid experience, and it's always part of your studies. Whereas in the US, an internship is more of like a career starter. So it's either completed in the summer during your studies or right after you finish your studies, and they're paid real world work experiences that allows you to use the knowledge that you've gained from your studies and then apply it in an industry setting, in a real world setting, which really sets you up for a future career path. So I want to just kind of clarify that so that you understand that internships don't necessarily have to be a part of your studies, but they also can be if you wanted them to. So yeah, what makes our program unique? Of course, we really focus on helping students and graduates find industry experience. So these are experiences within startups and companies. Flexible start date and duration. So what that means is after you're onboarded into our program, you're able to remain part of our program, part of our platform for as long as you wish. And so it's really up to you when you decide to be active with your internship search. So whenever you're ready to look for an internship, you can start searching. And once you do find an internship, you will discuss with your supervisor your exact start date and your duration. So if you want to do, a short 3-month summer internship up to a 1-year internship, and that's really entirely up to you. Internships are, of course, paid since they're a real world work experience. We do require companies to offer a minimum of $3,000 per month, but in most cases, we do find that interns get paid more than that, which is, of course, very nice, but also have to keep in mind the high cost of living in the US. Next, US-wide support. So it's a bit deceiving since our name Internships in the Valley really seems like we're only focused in Silicon Valley, which is how we used to be. But more recently, we've expanded to offer support across the entire US, which I will show you later on in this presentation. And also being part of our program, you are exposed to local networking opportunities. So both with other Holland in the Valley Fellows, as you see in this photo, but also we try to connect you and invite you to other events in your city with maybe other Dutchies or alumna from your university. And then finally, probably the biggest highlight of the program is the support with the J1 visa process, which is all thanks to the NAF, so the Netherlands America Foundation. And they also offer certain internship scholarships that can further help support you financially through your time in the US. All right, so what exactly do we offer? So after you apply to our program, we'll select candidates and you'll be onboarded onto our Academy platform right here. So the Academy platform is this space where you can join our community of other applicants, so other students who are in the same shoes as you. And here you will also find courses that walk you through how to prepare to start your internship search. So tips from fixing your resume, approaching companies, how to interview, so things of that sort. And also here we have office hours where you can drop in and ask us questions or give us an update on how your search is going. So that ties into the personalized guidance. We try to help you every step of the way. We try to keep good contact with our applicants who are actively searching. So if you come into any trouble, we try to be there for you and help you through that. And so once you're successful with your search and you find an internship, that's where we put you into contact with Maggie from the Netherlands America Foundation, and they will start your J1 visa process. and make sure you have all your documents in line so that there are no hurdles and no problems before you're ready to go to the US. And finally, this is a new thing that we're launching this year. It is the mentorship program. So after you've been matched with an internship in the US and you're all set to go, we will match you with a mentor who is in the US. So a mentor could be, say, one of our previous interns who have already gone through that same experience as you, or it could be an industry professional or a professor who has some ties to the Netherlands but are currently based in the US. And they will be like your one-stop shop of any questions you may have while you're in the US, any advice you need. It could be something like, how do I get a phone number, or how do I find a house, or I'm having trouble, adapting my internship. What should I do? So I'm a mentor in that sense. So we're hoping to launch that this year. All right, so when I was mentioning the US-wide support, this is what I was describing. So you'll see that still a large majority of our interns have been matched or are currently in the Bay Area. And that's mainly due to our partnership with the Dutch consulate in San Francisco. And that's also who help us with our talent partner network. So a lot of our partner companies are actually in the Bay Area, which also explains why we're able to match, or if students are able to find internships within the Bay Area. But in the past 2 years, we've also had interns in Boston, New York, and Chicago. And we're open to expanding even more. So if you're able to find an internship in Texas or even in Southern California, we're there to support you and we'll help you with the visa process for that. And one more thing to mention, so we have had two successful cohorts, so 2022 and 2023, and in total, we've so far had 24 matched candidates. So who are our candidates? This is just a handful of some of our recent interns. So I'm looking now, and some of them are still in the US, some of them have recently come back to the Netherlands. But I just want to point out that, as you can see, interns come from different universities. They also have different fields of studies and have completed internships in different industries. So for example, we have like aerospace engineering here. We have more bioscience, biotech. So Friso did that bioscience internship. We also have like product management, corporate strategy. There are also some PhD students, so Marcella and Jelana right here. So in general, most interns have been within the fields of business, tech, engineering. We've also had sustainability. But again, that is mainly because of our partnership with the Dutch consulate and their partner companies, which tend to be very business, tech, and engineering focused. But that's just something to keep in mind. All right, so eligibility and application. I'll just quickly go over this. Of course, to be eligible for our program, you need to be a master's student, a PhD candidate, or a recent graduate, which means you would have to have graduated within the past year. So say you graduate June 2023, you would need to start an internship by June 2024 to be eligible for the J1 visa. So anyone who's a recent graduate, just keep that in mind. And additionally, we have minimum GPA of 7 and then professional English language skills, which if you're studying in English, most of you will meet that requirement. In terms of the application, we require you to submit a US standard resume, which is a maximum of 1 page. And another thing to keep in mind with American resumes is there's no photo, which is different than European CVs. And you want to keep out personal details such as your home address or your nationality, which are two that I frequently see with people's CVs. Additionally, you will submit a transcript of records. If you're a first-year master's student and don't have your grades yet, you can go ahead and submit your bachelor records. And finally, a professional LinkedIn profile. So this is very important aspect of the application. And by professional LinkedIn profile, we want to see a professional photo. We want to see that short bio is nicely filled in, and education and work experience are detailed along with the associated skills. So how do you apply? So first part, there's an eligibility check. This is just where you enter some basic information about yourself and your studies, and we just check your eligibility. And the second part is where you will actually submit your resume and your transcript, and you will also be answering some short answered questions, which I've listed in this document that I will share with you guys. But yeah, so why do you want to intern in the US? You get to select 2 questions to answer. And the last part is what sets you apart from the rest. So this is where I want you to pitch like what makes you a good candidate, what makes you desirable to companies in the US. So really highlight your achievements, your skills in this section. All right, and so with that, I will hand the mic over to Maggie from the Netherlands America Foundation, and she'll go through the entire visa process with you guys. All right, Maggie, there you are.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't realize I couldn't unmute myself. Thanks, Maya. Hey, everyone. Good to see so many people here today. My name is Maggie Maloney. I work for the Netherlands America Foundation, and we are located in New York City. So it's afternoon for us today. I will just go ahead and offer a general overview of our organization, a very high-level overview of the J1 visa process, and also discuss the grants that we offer. J1 visa can be a complex process, but I sort of want to ease you into it just so you know what to expect. So our organization, you'll see a 100 in our logo. We are very proud to have been in existence for over 100 years. For those 102 years, we have maintained and strengthened relations between the US and the Netherlands, and we do so through exchange, whether that is cultural, educational, or internship exchange. We partner, and we're very honored to partner with Internships in the Valley for this J1 visa process. We provide a number of scholarship opportunities as well. And if you ever do find yourself coming to the US for an education, we offer loans as well. So the next slide would be great. Thank you. So I'll give you a quick overview of the grants that we offer. So these are specifically for internships, and they're both different. So I'll start with the Dutch to USA internship grant. So this is a grant that is mainly premised on the idea of breaking through economic barriers. So you have to be from a low-income economic background in order to be eligible and apply for this grant. And when we say low income, we're really referring to like your family's history, and how you grew up. Not exactly your income at this stage. A lot of students don't have high income, certainly, but we're really looking for what your economic background was. Something that your parents or your guardians couldn't just pay for you to do an internship if they wanted to. This is a extremely unique opportunity for you to go to the US and intern. So if you receive this grant, it covers your living expenses, your flights, and the visa, and that's at no cost to you or your host company. And there's a lot of availability with this grant. So we offer 4 deadlines a year. The next is December 31st. When I'm done speaking, I can just pop the link in the chat here. And so it's going to be at the end of every quarter. So December 31st, March 30th, and so on. So that's the Dutch to USA grant. We've helped over 100 interns come to the US, as well as a few American interns come to the Netherlands to do an internship. So that is the first offering. The second is the Peter Grotenhuis Life Sciences Grant. So Peter Grotenhuis, he was a Dutch scientist who worked in California. He helped develop a medicine or a treatment for cystic fibrosis that has been completely life-changing for people with that disease. Unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago, but his family set up this grant in his memory. So this provides funding for a Dutch intern to intern at a life sciences company or lab in the US. However, there's only funding for one internship per year. And obviously it has to be life sciences. So if you are in the fields of chemistry or biochemistry, pharmaceutical sciences, or anything else that's life sciences, maybe keep an eye out for that because there's no income requirements there. The applications are closed right now. We just finished our first round, but they will reopen in summer of 2024. So our website, again, I can put this in the chat, is thenaf.org, and you can always go there and just check out the opportunity as it arises if you'll be doing an internship later in 2024. Okay, next slide. Okay, so as I said, with the Dutch to USA internship grant, the eligibility is mostly the same for internships in the Valley, but we do ask that you show proof of receiving the supplementary grant or aanvullende beurs from DUO. And we also ask that if you don't have an internship, you have been applying to them and you really know the marketplace, you know what you're looking for. So once you send in your application, the eligible applications will be sent to a selection committee for about a 15 to 20-minute interview, and you'll find out results from there. I just want to take a look at this Q&A too. Okay, I think that's the Q&A right now is mostly related to internships in the Valley. So I'll just move on. If you have any questions about Dutch to USA or the Peter Grotenhuis grant or any other grants or funding, I'll pop my email up so that you can take a look. Okay, so I wanted to give you a very, very general overview of the J1 visa process so you know what to expect. Now that I'm on the other end of the visa process, meaning I kind of help people get theirs, I can see it more clearly for what it is, and it is complex, but there's really no reason to get too anxious right away. I'm here to help you through all of it. I hope that it has made a difference to people in this program because I'm going to be your contact. I've had conversations with people on WhatsApp who are going through the visa process to answer their questions. I will try and explain as much of it as I can once you're in this process, but right now, I want to give you a timeline for what to expect so that you can communicate this to any potential host companies that you're looking at. So our organization, Netherlands American Foundation, is a local representative of Dutch students who want to intern in the US. We partner with a US-based sponsor called CIEE, and we have the ability to initiate your application. So to apply for a visa, you don't really like fill out forms and then send them to the consulate. You have to have an organization behind you, and that's us and CIEE. We make sure that you're even qualified for this and that your internship is something that you will be able to get the visa for. So a few big things to keep in mind. The visa process can only start once you have an offer letter signed in hand that you're actually going to go to the US, you're going to do an internship. And I say this because some people have asked if they can get like a head start in the process, but they don't actually have an offer. That's not permissible within the guidelines of this whole process. It has to be, and 100% you're going to do this option. So what happens next is that it mostly goes online from there. So I'll initiate your application on this online platform, and you will see all is required for the application. And it's pretty standard. It should not take you an overwhelming amount of time to do this. You fill in your contact information, emergency contact. You fill in some health history because you do get health insurance with this visa. You fill in your educational history. There's a few questions I'd ask you, like, why are you going to the US? So that's the onus is on you for that, but it's very, very simple, very straightforward. The second part of getting the visa is you need a training plan filled out from your host company. So the training plan, you may have seen this if you've looked into this process at all. It's also called the DS 7002, DS referring to Department of State, which is, but the US agency that deals with all of this. So that is something that also is on this portal. It all lives there. All of the questions are on there so that your supervisor can just go in and answer questions about your training. So Questions range from, what will you be doing at this company? Who is supervising you? Why is this person qualified to supervise you? What American cultural activities will you be engaging with the company? Again, this is not an overwhelming amount of time for your host company, but your supervisor or the HR contact will need to fill this out. I can answer questions too, for anyone at your host company that has questions, and I review everything before it's in to make sure that there are no snags in the process, to make sure everything is completed and can be done pretty quickly so that you can really get to the US a lot quicker. So once this approval is done with, you'll make an appointment at the Amsterdam consulate, you'll get your visa. Once you go to the consulate and get approved, you do have to wait for it to come in the mail. And the process of getting an appointment at the consulate, it could take a while. That's not something that the NAF we have any control over, unfortunately. You just it's kind of like first come, first serve. But every once in a while, spots open up a little quicker, and you can, get a slot for an appointment. Next slide. So basically, this is basically just what I talked about. It's an overview of the process. The DS 2019 is the form that you need. Unfortunately, there are no blank DS 2019s. It's going to be issued to you once your training plan is complete, once your application is complete. And that's basically the key to really getting into the US and getting your J1 visa. I'll stop there. I'll just check the Q&A to see if there are any questions. For the Dutch to USA scholarship, is it open to non-Dutch nationals? I'm a Bulgarian citizen, but based in the US, or sorry, based in the Netherlands. So Dutch to USA is primarily allocated towards Dutch students or students who have an intention to live in the Netherlands and make their career there. Because we are an organization based on exchange, we do want to see that you have stronger Dutch ties and that you intend to remain in the Netherlands for your career or for your personal life as well. Okay. So are you mandated to return to the Netherlands at the end of the internship, or could you stay if you were offered a permanent long-term contract? Maya, if you want to answer this with me, I can just say from a J1 visa perspective, mostly everyone, they are not exactly mandated. Sometimes there's a waiting period. With the J1 visa, CIE is looking to make sure that this is an exchange opportunity and that is furthering your education as well. But there is no hard and fast rule. With some people who get a visa, there is a rule that they have to go back to the Netherlands for 2 years. That's likely not to be many people in this program, but I think it really depends on a case-by-case basis. There's typically a possibility that you can, if you're offered a contract, you can get a visa through that and stay. But for what I've seen, it's not as big of a deal as it might be with some other folks who do have to pay attention to that rule. Anything did you want to add, Maya? I don't know if, I hope that answered it correctly.
Yeah, no, I think that was most of it. And then also, even if your company does offer you a full-time position after your J1 visa is over, I think there is usually a lottery system with the H-1B visa. Is that correct, Maggie?
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with that, but I think that it is much harder to get an H-1B visa, especially with the lottery system.
But it's not impossible if you
Yeah.
wanted to stay in the US after your internship. And that's a discussion you would have with
Yeah.
your host company.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's it for me. I know that was a lot of information in a short amount of time, but please feel free to reach out to me via email, or you can call the office here in New York if you want to talk about anything related to this or answer your questions. It can be a little complex, but I really do want to be there to help you out with all of it.
And maybe Maggie, if you can just monitor the Q&A if there's any NAF related.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Maggie. So next I'd like to welcome Ramon. So he is one of our Holland in the Valley Fellows and recently came back to the Netherlands after a 1-year internship in the US. And he has a really cool story. So I'm excited to have him here. Let me just unmute him.
Great. Thank you, Maya, for the introduction. So my name is Rowan Dijkstra. I am currently a senior machine learning engineer at Skillsoft, and I did the Internships in the Valley program last year. Actually, I came back a bit more than a month ago, and today I would like to go over the motivation for finding an internship, how I approach that search. I will talk a bit about living in the US and working in the US. I will talk slightly about the company I've worked for and currently working for, a bit about coming back this since a month, and like the post-internship feeling, and some final advice for you guys. So let's first start with why I wanted to go to the US and how I entered this program. So I am a traveler and I would like to see all different parts of the world. And besides that, I have an entrepreneurial mindset, and that combination led me to the choice that I wanted to go to the US for 1 year. I did an exchange program for half a year in Singapore, and that was such a great experience that I wanted to do that again. And I decided to go to the US and apply to Internships in the Valley. So after I applied to Internships in the Valley, I was just at post-COVID phase where it was pretty hard to get an internship. So there's a couple of things that Internships in the Valley does for you. So one of them is that they have a couple of partner organizations for which you may have an opportunity to go to one of those organizations for an internship. But besides that, you are allowed to search for an internship yourself. So what I did is I've applied to maybe 100 or maybe 200 different companies through an internship search by applying on their websites and by sending emails, applying through LinkedIn, lots of different ways to get in touch with companies in the US. For me personally, I had some luck as I did my master thesis in artificial intelligence, and my master thesis was at a company called Process, which invested in a company that I currently work for, which was located in the US, which meant that I've used my network, which I would recommend to you all, to build that connection. And I've asked through my previous employer whether I could, well, maybe have a conversation with the company to proceed an internship. And that combines this opportunity. So one, I was very motivated to go to the US. And second, I've used my network to get in touch with a company in the US and used everything for Internships in the Valley and the Netherlands America Foundation to secure that place and to secure a J1 visa. And they helped me throughout the whole process. So after I secured the place, I moved to Boston for 1 year. And that's where I worked out of. So I'm called a Holland in the Valley Fellow, but as mentioned before, it's not only focused on Silicon Valley, but also on any other spot in the US, because the J1 visa is not state specifically. Your J1 visa is for can be for the whole US. So that's good to know. The work life is slightly different in the US. In the Netherlands, we're quite straightforward, and we want to, we say what's on our minds. And in the US, one of the main differences I saw is that there's more time spent discussing things from very different perspectives. And that's led to the conclusion that, well, you just hear a lot about different culture. You hear a lot about different background stories during your daily work life. Apart from your work life, you will experience the American culture. And I would recommend if you go to travel around, so you experience not only in your city or your state, but also in all different kinds of states in the US, because that will bring different experiences with each of them. As mentioned, I work currently at Skillsoft, Skillsoft is an educational technology company. We are reskilling and upskilling people from many different businesses. We're a B2B company. And we provide reskilling and upskilling through a transformative learning experience, meaning that we do not only provide material consisting of videos and assessments, but we also provide mentoring, coaching, and instructor-led trainings to make sure that you can come to the role that you would like to work in. During the time in the US, I have learned many different skills. On a technical level, I was working at a great AI team consisting of people all in the US, but also on a team in India. And I've realized that the international work culture is something that I consider to be a lot of fun. On the technical skills, I continued not only when you're studying, creating proof of concepts, creating something that works, but really developing something that gets into the production that we actually deployed, and people, all our customers will use it in the end. So that was really cool to see. And when I'm talking about this, I need to refer back to what is previously mentioned. An internship is not only that's like in the Netherlands, you just fulfill a couple of tasks or a project. You can be a real employee in the company. You can speak up. You can cooperate on projects, which is, I think, very valuable to have as a first journey before entering the rest of your work life. On a soft skills level, you will be around lots of entrepreneurial people. You will improve your social and communicative skills by going to a different country and working in a different country. Now I'm back for 1 month, and before I left, I was asked to stay in the US because they offered me a job at Skillsoft. Reason why that was the case is throughout the internship, I tend to speak up, tend to propose projects, and we actually executed on one of the major projects, which we came from idea towards production in 6 months, after which they offered me to stay. But unfortunately for me personally, 1 year in the US was an amazing experience, but I wanted to go back to Amsterdam to live with friends and family. And I was offered to stay with the company because we're a global company, and I could continue working out of Amsterdam. So that's where I'm currently at. And we're building a team now in Amsterdam while I begin working for this company in the US. As some final advice, I would like to encourage every one of you to be confident in what you can do. There's a lot possible. Once you are confident in what you know and what you don't know, you can accomplish great things. Besides that, keep on pushing. I would say that it's not easy to get an internship, but if you use your network, if you use the connections, if you use everything that Internships in the Valley offers, that the Netherlands American Foundation offers, you can get there. And with that said, I would like to pause it here, and I would like to mention that I will stay on for a while to monitor the Q&A to see if there's any questions for me. If I do not answer your question right now, always feel free to shoot me a message on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to answer all of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ramon, and some good tips of advice for everybody. Also, applying to over 100 internship positions is very much a reality. But with that said, I'd like to go on to our next panelist, Carmen Pop. So she is also originally from the Netherlands and has an interesting journey to the US and has actually been there for quite some time now. Let me make you a panelist. Let's see, Carmen, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes, I think it's working.
Yeah.
Hello. Good morning, afternoon, everybody, or I guess good evening for those in the Netherlands. My name is Carmen Pop. I am Chief of Staff at Eventbrite. I've been in San Francisco now almost 8 years. As you can tell, I've kind of picked up an American accent, but I promise I'm from Schiedam, near Rotterdam. My journey actually to the United States started actually with university. So I got a tennis scholarship back in 2006 at the College of William and Mary. That was my way to basically go to the US. Was on an F1 visa, I believe. I've been on quite a few different visas over time. And so played tennis there, studied business, and really loved just the way that they do business in the US. It's definitely different than what we're used to in Europe. After I graduated, I had an OPT visa. So if you study in the US, they will grant you a so-called OPT visa, which is basically a year visa where you can find an employer. And then after that, you need to get sponsorship to get either H-1B or a different visa to work here. I ended up going back to Amsterdam after that. So in 2011, I moved back to Amsterdam and then found my way to working at LinkedIn. So I was working at LinkedIn in Amsterdam and then had the opportunity to move to Dublin, Ireland. And I figured, hey, why not move to Ireland? So made that journey across the pond and worked there at LinkedIn and then ultimately at Dropbox. I think for those of you who are thinking about just working abroad, I think Dublin, Ireland is also a great hub for tech companies, if that's what you're interested in. And a lot of Europeans and people from all over the world use kind of Dublin as a stepping stone to go to the US, because there's quite a few friends I have actually in San Francisco here who I met in Dublin who also moved over to San Francisco. So, that's another opportunity. So ultimately I moved with Dropbox from Dublin to San Francisco in 2016 on an L1A visa. It's just all the visas. I know the challenges there. So, I think it's just important to connect and network with people and make sure that if you can get a warm introduction somewhere, that is worth so much. I'm also always happy to connect. So feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. But yeah, my journey in the US, obviously I've enjoyed it. Otherwise I wouldn't still be here. But yeah, I worked at Dropbox and then Asana most recently. And I just moved over to Eventbrite just over a month ago. So I'm still pretty new here at Eventbrite, still learning. Silicon Valley, there's a type of energy here to it that I absolutely love. I think, obviously with AI, there's so many companies here focused on AI. There's a buzz around the city and the valley in general that, again, I just really enjoy. Also just California as a state, you can't really go wrong. I guess, I don't know if there's any questions or people that want me to dive into certain things in particular, I'd be happy to share. So I'll kind of pause there for a second.
Yeah, let me just check the Q&A if anyone typed anything in specifically for you. But thank you so much for joining today, Carmen.
Yes, of course. No worries at all.
Yeah, and while we have you, I also wanted to take this opportunity to share with you guys our YouTube channel. Lots of great videos by Carmen right here, which I highly recommend. And also other interviews by our interns that they really give you in depth about their experience, which I also recommend if you're interested in an internship. So let me just quickly see the Q&A, and if not, I think you're free to go, Carmen.
Yeah, I mean, anything that you guys want to know about the US, feel free to drop it in the chat or the Q&A.
Here's one for you. How's the working culture in the Valley? Are you expected to work overtime?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that was kind of mentioned earlier. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that the intensity of work in the US and especially in Silicon Valley is probably higher than what we're used to in the Netherlands. I think it really, if I'm honest, it comes from a place of just passion and excitement around the company that you're working for or the problem you're trying to solve. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of energy around that. But needless to say, I think it's all in your own control. It's important to kind of set your boundaries and have your schedule. I tend to be very organized of like, what does my week look like this week, and really trying to not get owned by your calendar. I always think it's important to, like, you want to own your own calendar versus the calendar basically taking over and you trying to catch up with everything. So I think just planning in advance, I think is super helpful. But yeah, I would say that the work-life balance is not the same as it is in Europe, and that's definitely something I miss sometimes, but it also gives you a lot of exciting opportunities. And then I see, is it hard to find a place to live in the US? I think San Francisco, obviously very popular spot, but I do believe that there are plenty of spots out there. I think Craigslist is oftentimes a very popular spot for people to find places to rent. So that's a very popular site. Are you expected to own a car in SF? I actually ride a motorcycle, so I have a motorcycle, which is super helpful. It's easy to get around. You don't actually need a car in SF. I lived in SF for 5 years without a car, so you don't really need it. You can kind of you can pretty much walk. I mean, it would take you maybe a little bit of a while, but you can definitely walk. And then there's electric bikes to get you up the hills, because the hills can be kind of a pain. But yeah, it's really easy to get around. It's actually a pretty small city, which is actually what I love about San Francisco. Let's see, what can we expect for average expenses per month? Well, that really depends on what your budget is. But I think if you move in with roommates, which I would recommend, obviously, especially if you do an internship, like hopefully you can get anywhere around like $1,500, $1,000 to $1,500 in terms of rent. And then food, if you're a good cook, that you can probably save a good amount there. Let's see, what is the advantage and disadvantage of searching is with you internship in the Valley? Okay, so you have an American nationality. I can't speak to all the details of the program, but I think I've been working with the Dutch consulate for a while, and they put a lot of effort and thought into this program. So I think it's great to get a lot of the tips and tricks and insights that they share here. You can obviously also do it by yourself, but I think because they've been doing it for a while and the Internships in the Valley has existed, there's some existing relationships and partnerships that they can probably leverage. But yeah, it never hurts to like check out and connect with people yourself. Public transport's great. I mean, don't compare it to the Netherlands, because you'll be very disappointed. That's maybe why I started riding a motorcycle. It's easier to get around.
And then one last question someone asked, what do you find helpful to achieve the goal of moving to the US, specifically with your company?
What did you find helpful to achieve the goal? Yeah, that's a good question. I think for me, again, I think having been in tech for almost 13 years now, I kind of wanted to get to the heart of tech, so kind of the mecca of tech. And so that's why for me, it was really the goal to come to San Francisco and kind of be close to where it all happens. And I think that was really, a goal of mine to achieve. And I think there's something about, I'm sure there's many of you on this call even that are maybe, I heard there's somebody from Hungary that's in another, like there's probably different nationalities on this call. I think there's something so exciting and freeing and encouraging about living abroad. It's scary, but it's also exciting, and it really helps you grow as a person. And I think, it's so super cliche that they say, like, if you can make it in the US, you could, well, in New York, they say, if you can make it in New York, you can make it anywhere. But I do think like there's this grind in the US. And if you love business, it's definitely kind of a little bit of a thrill that it gives you. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question.
All right, Ramon, did you want to add something? I saw that you turned your camera back on.
No, not necessarily. I was just also open for any questions. So, and I do agree. It does feel like if you can fulfill an internship or work outside of your own country, travel around, really boosts your confidence, not only on a personal, but also on a career level.
All right. Thank you both for joining us today and giving us some insight into your own experiences. I know we're kind of running out of time, so I'll actually skip through the questions, pre-submitted questions today, and I'll host another webinar where we actually go through all the questions. So I'll just use these last few minutes for you guys to continue asking questions in the Q&A while we have all of us here, and we can just try to answer them live. So let me just see if there's any other ones. I got some questions about if you have to be a Dutch student. So no, our program is for both Dutch and international students. So as long as you're associated, so currently studying or recently graduated from one of those Dutch universities, you are eligible. Summer internships. Yes, we do offer summer internships. The one thing you want to keep in mind is lots of companies that have a very structured summer internship program will already start recruiting about now, so November, December. So if you're really interested in joining like a 3-month strict summer internship program, I would already start looking at companies now and already start reaching out. Let's see. Yeah, so social sciences as well. Any kind of field of study is encouraged to apply, but like I previously said, we do find a lot of internships within business, tech, and engineering. To be honest, we do find it more difficult for students with like a medical or a law background to find internships just because of the different regulations in the US versus Europe. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Let's see. And the rest. Yes, the application deadline is on here, the 20th of November, and that's to apply to our program. So you'll be onboarded onto the Academy platform where you'll have all these resources and which we will launch in January. But in the meantime, you can already start reaching out to companies and emailing us if you need any help with anything. And I've created let's see right here, an FAQ document since we got so many questions with everyone registering. So I put all those questions together in this document, which I will share with you. And hopefully whatever question you had has been answered in that document. And then Carmen, Maggie, Ramon, any last words before I close this session? For some reason, I think I have to unmute you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do see a quick one. And I saw this a few times. Is there a time limit? So if you graduate, the example they're giving is they graduate in February 2024. In order to get the visa, you do have to start by January 2025. So it is a year after. I don't know if that differs with internships in the Valley, but that is just from the Department of State. That is their guidelines is you have to start it within a year of your graduation.
Yeah, it's the same for us.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I think the final thing I'll say is best of luck to everyone. I know this is a very exciting time. So, I think it's always a great decision to explore and get out of your comfort zone and go to a new country. So if I can help with anything, feel free to reach out, but best of luck.
Thanks, Carmen.
Yep. Well said.
All right, and with that, I am going to close the session. I will stop recording, but I'll stick around for a bit for anyone who still has some questions, and I'll try to answer some of them in the chat. All right, so thank you for our speakers for joining.
Thank you. Bye, and good luck to you all.
Bye.